Yes? All right. Thanks, Michelle. So, hi, everyone. We're here. I'm here today with Emily Abbott.
Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
And Emily and I have been talking. I said, when Emily came in a few minutes ago, I said, let's talk for a few minutes, kind of get to know each other. So like an hour and 20 minutes have gone by.
Oh, has it been that long?
Well, an hour for sure.
Oh, man. Just lost all concept of time and space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so we're just going to keep doing what we were doing and talk about our lives and our journeys and how we're going to make a difference, how we are making a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, if you don't mind, like how did you get into, say, fitness? And
Still good?
yes.
Yeah?
We still live?
Yeah. Okay, my journey to fitness. Well, I was an athlete, from a very young age. I loved it. It was totally what I was supposed to be doing. And, played basketball, volleyball, track. Then I went and played at the university level. We won a couple national championships through an immense amount of work. I got out of university and started traveling. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. Fell into this CrossFit world. And I loved, the push and the discipline, and it brought me back to my athletic days.
You can probably tell that I'm a CrossFit guy.
Absolutely.
No.
Absolutely.
No.
And then I was devoted to CrossFit and, climbed my way up to the world-class stage.
Mm-hmm.
And, I did that and was very, very devoted to that. And then basically got a spiritual 2x4. Yeah.
So how many years were you doing the CrossFit thing?
5 years.
Wow.
My life seems to go in 5-year cycles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So.
And were you here in Calgary? Or?
I was here in Calgary, but very nomadic in terms of I was always traveling for some kind of CrossFit event or training at, this place or competing in halfway across the world. So it was what I love to do: fitness, food, and travel.
And sex.
Wasn't having as much sex at that time, and that was probably a big issue.
Because we're going to talk about that, aren't we?
Yes, absolutely.
So you said spiritual 2x4.
Yes.
And we talked a few minutes ago. We were talking about the possibility that we get what we ask for.
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
And you must have been seeing a vision of who you were going to become, and so what happened? The 2x4 that you're talking about was a gift, right?
It was, but it's taken me a while to understand that it was a gift. I think that's just natural processes of grief. But I was operating in a way that wasn't sustainable, that was very self-critical. I had a lot of shame about who I was. I also had a lot of guilt for what I was doing. What was I doing? I was fitnessing, lifting weights fast, and living on this social media world, and obtaining sponsorships through that. And I felt guilty because I was like, what am I actually doing? How am I actually making a difference in people's lives? And it was fun, but it was also really hard. And I had to suppress a lot of my emotions. And, I do believe and still do have a dark passenger that was, kind of like my evil twin, being like, you have to work harder, you have to be successful. And that was kind of where I was operating. And it was funny because that inner guilt of probably being out of line with my soul's purpose was then manifested in the form of I failed a drug test after winning an awesome competition, and I did so well, and I was like, oh yeah, everything's falling into place. And then I remember speaking to my mom after I won the competition, being like, wow, everything's falling into place, Mom.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple hours later, I got a call that I failed the drug test. Oh, and it was devastating. And turned out it was a passive transmission from my significant other through kissing. That's the only way we figured it out, how that could have happened. And then I presented my case to CrossFit, hired lawyers, tried to show them that, hey, like, this is so not what I'm about. And, I was doing this because I just love to compete in front of people and compete for myself and get better. And they didn't believe me, and I was banned for 4 years. Everyone said I was a liar, a cheater, and basically a total piece of shit. And
I'll bet not everyone.
Not everyone. There was, lots of amazing supportive people. But that's what it felt like at the time, right? Like a lot of this judgment and criticism. And so since that point, that was last year, around this time actually, it's been this complete heart-opening, gut-wrenching, soulful journey back to myself.
Wow.
And it's been incredibly powerful. And I'm not going to say that it's been horribly hard, and I've gone back into this blame and resentment and grief, and it's kind of that upward spiral, coming back to the same emotions. But holy crap, it's been this ass kick back onto the
So
path.
only a year, you've done really well, actually.
Yeah. Thank you. I think I have too. Yeah.
It seems like it was like 3 years ago.
I know, yeah. No, it is still relatively fresh, and I guess right now would be the anniversary of that time. But one thing it has taught me is, like, yeah, I am pretty damn resilient and pretty damn open. So after that happened, I went on a 3.5-month trip around the world, and ever since I've gotten back, it's been learning about my way of being and how it's not aligned with how what's healthy for me, and in a way that's good for my relationships and also spiritually aligned. So yeah, it's I've been putting in work.
So do you think that we come to the planet with a purpose?
Yes.
And that maybe what you're doing was not totally on purpose? I
think I had to go through that
in
order to get where I am now.
Of course, yeah. So gratitude.
Yes, gratitude for this crazy divine experience that we're on, and everything it builds off of the next thing, and not in a linear fashion, very much in this chaotic, spirally way, which is the feminine. That's the feminine essence, right? It's that it feels like it flows, and sometimes it feels like we get knocked back like 5 steps, but it's actually exactly where we need to be in order, like we were talking about before. Pain is an amazing catalyst for growth,
isn't it?
And I believe that fitness can be an incredible catalyst for growth if we approach it in a very spiritually empowered way, in a sexually empowered way.
So, I mean, we were talking earlier about when we're coming from judgment, when we're coming from ego, if it was that, or I'm going to be applauded, or I'm going to be loved, or I'm going to get something,
right?
Then it doesn't seem to have the depth. And when we come from a place of, okay, how can I serve? What can I give? How can I make people's lives better? How can I help people awaken?
Yes.
Then I think that has more depth and more foundation.
Right.
It's based in love.
Right. And I believe that's our soul. Like, that is part of our soul's journey, right? We come from this this hero ambitious mentality, and we kind of make it through that, and then all of a sudden we spiral off, whatever that event may be, the catalyst may be, and then we come back into, how can I serve? How can I?
Have you read Joseph Campbell?
No.
Okay, he talks a lot about the hero's journey.
Oh, okay.
He was an amazing teacher. And really, you're saying some of his stuff. It's really...
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Crazy. So it is coming back to how can I what is my purpose? And, it was my Saturn return. And it was time to take stock of how I was living, how I was operating, and what I want for the next part of my journey.
Are you 30?
I just turned 30, yeah.
Did you? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, because life's, I don't know anything, but I understand that sometimes things happen in 7-year cycles. It seems to be that 28 is a 7-year cycle, and 28 for a lot of people is a big, and then 35, and then the things seem to go in a 7-year cycle. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe mine seems to be in this 5-year kind of cycle. So I don't really know what that means, but I do know that, my Saturn return was rough because they do say that everything from your deep in your subconscious kind of all of a sudden comes to the surface. And it definitely did for me.
You know what? Last winter sometime, my son, Lucas, who's a CrossFit guy.
Yeah.
And
coached him for a long time.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So he said to me one day, "Why don't you get in touch with Emily?" He kind of introduced me to you.
Oh, okay.
And I messaged you, and you were in Hawaii.
Yes.
And I shared with you that we were doing this thing around meditation spaces and meditation and teaching meditation, and you said, "Wow, that's really eerie. I'm looking at running a program, a training that will include meditation." And I always thought that was, and that's like 4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah.
And it took us that long to finally get together to do this. But so going forward, I get that you want to share something in a different way, and you're talking about sacred sexuality, and I think meditation would be a piece of that.
Yes.
And
so I have this, just from, I guess, my own life experience, that I realized I was living, because we're in this very hyper-masculine paradigm, and it doesn't mean that I think the masculine is bad. I think the masculine is an amazing thing. It's just a little bit mismanaged because we're out of balance, out of touch with our feminine essence. And I would always suppress, like if I didn't feel like I was, full steam ahead every day, I was failing. And so I was really self-critical and very hard on myself. And what I recognized in myself, I also recognized in other women, is that we are trying to, like, especially athletes, we are goal-oriented, we're completely driven, and sometimes you have horse blinders on because you don't think anything else is a priority except for that one goal. So if it's not serving that one goal, there's no point. And that also meant becoming this neglector of myself, right? Not taking care of myself, not listening to my body, disconnected from my sexuality, and searching for everybody else to that external validation, right? That outer champion. It's that's what we wanted to do. And so I realized that a lot of women, especially in the CrossFit world, even in the athletic world, we do carry this dark passenger of not really tapping into our emotions and not tapping into just the receiving, the relaxation energy. Because we're told that success is linear. And so if we're not giving 12 hours a day, 7 days a week to it, you're not going to be successful. But I don't think that's necessarily true. And I think that's a way of leadership the only way of leadership that we've been sold on. And so what psychedelic gypsy fitness is about is about exploring a new way of leadership, finding that inner champion in order to have success in your life, whatever that metric looks like.
So out of awakening.
Yes. And I believe one of the most powerful ways women can reconnect to themselves is through their sexuality. When you start connecting to your sexuality, you are creating self-love. You are honoring this vessel. You're honoring your human. And for me, that was a really powerful way to come back to myself, to understand what pleasure is, self-pleasure, and pleasure in general. Women are pleasure vessels, and we forget that because we've been told, again, to be successful, you have to act and be like a man. But I'm a woman, and I'm not tough all the time. I'm powerful and tough in some ways, but in other ways, I have this little girl inside of me that just wants to be loved.
And held.
Yeah, and so I had to learn how, and I'm still learning how to love and hold her myself. And in that way, I can operate from a very powerful, empowered place. So it's a new way, it's a new feminine leadership, because I think we've only had one way.
So a more confident place.
Yeah.
And when that little girl, or in my case, little boy, feels safe.
Yeah.
He can, we can be more confident.
Absolutely. And sometimes that does require diving deep into your psyche a lot. And it's uncomfortable. But what I've learned in life thus far is that whatever's uncomfortable, you probably should move towards. And whatever it scares the shit out of you, you should probably move towards.
Yes. It's a little Osho.
Yeah.
Have you read any Osho?
I have read Osho, yeah.
He definitely says, go where the energy is.
Yeah. Absolutely. And whatever kind of gives me that weird, like, I'm falling off the edge of a cliff. Yes. I'm like, yeah, that's right.
Thanks for coming here then this morning.
Thank you.
I know you've done a lot of these, but this is a kind of a different kind of interview, isn't it? Because I don't know, we're being really personal, and we're not promoting anything.
Yeah.
We're just talking about life and love. And
just being vulnerable.
Yes.
Learning how to be vulnerable.
Nice.
And perceived weak, right?
Yeah. So this thing you're talking about, it's funny because though I have this vision, of millions of meditation spaces and millions of homes, right? And I talk to my men, and they say, "Well, what's your plan? What's your plan?
Yeah. How are you going to execute?"
Yes. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I meditate a lot.
Yeah.
I'm in prayer quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's actually not my plan. It seems to be a divine plan. And I think if I get too involved, it's going to be awfully small.
Yes.
Contracted. And that sounds quite feminine. Doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it's like, holy shit. So I'm surrendering.
It's so hard to do.
Oh my God. Yeah. But it is the path of awakening. Surrender is the path of
yes. And a big part of the feminine is the not knowing. Yes. So how can we sink back and relax into the unknowing?
Yeah.
And that is part of that co-creation of life, right? I believe, like we were talking about before, that you do need to create these hero-like or like that masculine structure, that frame, in order to operate in. But it can't be this box. It has to be kind of this open, like riverbed, I would say, so that you can flow through it with that feminine essence. It's very essential.
So expanded rather than contracted.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And in the expanded, there's like anything can happen.
Yeah, exactly. and you know what? Actually, it really makes people uncomfortable when you start talking about that, because I know, for example, someone that always really pops up into my head is my father. And it's like, well, talking about all he's very risk adverse and talking about all the potential problems down the road. So it's like, it's this, there's these two very much extremes that we're living in. And when I'm realizing, like, we are walking polarities, and it's essential to recognize both those sides of ourselves, but then to walk that middle path and be okay with that.
Sounds quite Buddhist.
Yes, right? I know.
Middle path, yeah.
The lions roar, for sure. So
your dad lives here in Calgary?
Yes.
And you talk to him every day?
Not every day.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but I can see that. I mean, that many men are like, have it's got to be a plan. It's like,
absolutely.
And weighing all the options and and that we talked about it earlier. But the ego. I mean, some people are really, 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 I guess, really amazingly smart, and they can make that all happen. But I think there's some time when we just have to say fuck it.
Yeah.
And just jump in.
Yes.
And
try. Yeah. And try and experiment and see how it flows and what's not flowing, what isn't working.
Yeah.
And Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Ego can take us right out of the game. You have to be really careful.
Yeah.
I think you should get a job.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Or like, what are you doing?
Go get a job.
You know, this is really scary. And who do you think you are? Kind of that imposter syndrome pops up a lot. But
Yeah. Well, we do it to ourselves, and sometimes people can do it. You know, some people who are well-meaning and love us
yes.
can say, you know, because they're afraid for us.
Yeah.
You know, and we're risk takers. You're a risk taker?
I am.
Yes.
But it always kind of came, especially through my 20s, I realized that, and this was another part of my journey, it's reparenting myself, understanding that I don't need to defer to my parents or to obtain their approval, or anybody's for that matter. I have to go in the direction of my dreams, because I could not, and then things could still get fucked up.
Yeah.
So you might as well, because...
Well, you have to.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, yes.
Yeah.
It just, otherwise, what's the sense?
What's the sense? Yeah.
You know, why be here if we're not living out whatever it is we feel that is our path?
Yes.
And congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
You know, because lots of times what can happen, you know, I mean, is we can get caught up in the conditioned idea of who we should be. You know, I mean, by now you should have at least 3 children.
Yeah. Totally.
You know, and be in that conditioned belief, and so we're very subject to it. And I think we're not aware of it, that our ego, our mind, has been programmed by our culture, by our parents, you know, by the
past lives.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
And so all the judgments come out of that. And when I meditate, when I'm present, all the judgment drops away. You know, and sometimes I start to laugh. Like I get right to the edge of giddy sometimes. You know, with nothing really matters.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Nothing really matters. It doesn't matter what I do. In a way, it's all okay.
Yeah.
And it, that surrendering of judgment.
Yes.
Of you know, my meaning making machine. My mind is the meaning making machine. Did you ever do a landmark forum?
No.
They say life is empty and meaningless.
So go do what you want.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, fill it up. You know, life is empty and meaningless, and so that makes it unsafe, doesn't it? It's like, oh, you're kidding.
Yeah.
Like I can do or be or have whatever I want here.
Yeah, and that all the answers are within me.
Yeah.
And there's not out there. It's not in one person. It's not in a lover. It's not in
No.
my parents. It's within me.
You mean you're kidding? Your lover's not responsible to make you happy?
No. Yeah.
So tell us about so going forward. You know, you're talking about maybe already planning to do some programs, some teaching, some working with women.
Right.
Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I already have right now Psychedelic Gypsy Fitness, which is, you know, an introspection into the soul via a fitness program. Because lots of women love to work out. And each week we set an intention of how we want to approach this week. And we talk a lot about mindful movement and, you know, approaching life consciously. And talking about some real shit that women, you know, need to heal from. And my big thing is that we need to take accountability and be responsible for everything that we do in life, because that's radical acceptance, right? Is that you have chosen this. So instead of fighting against it, how do we roll with it? So that's a big concept that we focus on. Like, for example, this month we are. And so, yeah, it is a fitness program through a spiritual lens. However, what I'm really drawn to is the sacred sexuality and one powerful tool, and always finding tools to create more self-love and to create an inner temple, an outer temple, meditation space. And one way that I love is through yoni crystals and yoni eggs and crystal wands. And so I've started wholesaling those as well. I'm about to roll those out on my online website. and also start to hold, from the grassroots level, like women's circles, and teach women about the power of the yoni egg and the power of masturbation rituals and body rituals, and dropping into embodiment and completely creating this self-love and, feeling the kundalini energy rising. It's very powerful.
I get that the context changes. So you just talked about a masturbation ritual. Mm-hmm. The context changes from wanting to get something to actually giving yourself something.
Yes.
And do you know what I mean? It's because sometimes we masturbate to avoid the moment.
Yes. Yeah.
It's to not be present. Like, I don't know about you, but I can do that with food too.
Yeah, absolutely. You're like, oh, chocolate. Yeah. Well, what's really interesting too is that, like, the more I study this world, is that even we talked about, not being closed and being expansive, and really the clitoral orgasm, or that quickie orgasm, is actually our body being like, all right, there's too much pleasure, let's just shut her down, have this orgasm, and be done. But actually, when women start to explore their internal world,
full body,
there's the expansive full body, soul enlightening, face melting orgasms, right? We have this capacity for pain, but we also have this massive capacity for pleasure. And women need to learn how to create more pleasure and juiciness and radiance in their life. And that I can be the receiver of my own love. And so, I find yoni eggs and crystal wands a very powerful tool to create that. I create my little altar, and I turn myself on, and I create the juiciness in my life. I don't need it from anybody else. And that's great, because then when I show up in my relationship, I am coming from a place of, man, I love you, but I love myself a lot more, and that's always going to be a very important part of it. But it's about creating like this, it's called vessel yin, and for a lot of us, and for myself, it was down to a very slow trickle. But once we start like turning that notch up and really paying attention and devoting ourselves to a sacred sexuality practice, it flows. And you can give so much more, you can receive so much more. And it's not always about that much more, but it's such an integral base human thing that we often ignore. We love to talk about fitness. We love to talk about what we should eat. We love to talk about, how we get our finances in order. But how about getting our sexuality in order, and really opening that up? Or keeping it more chaotic and, the chaos, the order, whatever.
Well, paying attention to it. Yes.
Yeah.
I have a whole bunch of people to introduce you to.
Okay, excellent.
Just from this conversation, I was in New York one time, and I was there's a community called One Spot, and it was. Oh,
yes, I've heard of this.
Have you?
Yeah.
And they're in San Francisco too, and really they're in that realm.
That community,
Yes, in that realm of awakening through sexuality, through really being present with themselves,
coming back to the breath
and each other. Yes,
absolutely.
And that was. I have a bunch of people to introduce.
Okay, great, excellent.
And who and a lot of, I know a couple of women who really made their life around helping other women and couples awaken in this area, and it's a I was going to say it's a touchy area. It has lots of judgment. It has lots of
a lot of shame. It's very charged.
Yeah.
And especially right now, we're in such a touch aversive culture. Like you even said, like, is it okay if I touch you? Like, and I get that because
I've just started doing that. Yeah. I remember I was telling you, I go to the Alice Hung does a women's healing, a wild women's healing thing, and there's a part of it where the men come, and one of the things that they've taught us though is to be aware of boundaries, or at least to ask before we hug and touch, and it's been really quite something to be face to face with a woman and say, do you mind if I hug you?
Right.
So I've started doing it more here too, like because I hug all my customers,
Right.
and, like all of them,
Yeah.
pretty much, and I love hugging people,
Yeah.
and I've started doing it more.
Yeah.
Can I give you a hug?
Yeah.
And they're like, yes. It's a different, and so I'm not just stepping in.
Yeah. You're not forcing your hug.
Yes.
Yeah.
And usually I'm pretty good at tuning in, and if
Yeah.
it's not appropriate, I can sense it, and I just don't go there.
Yeah.
But sometimes when they stick out their hand to shake my hand, and I say, well, do you mind if I give you a hug?
Yeah. The hug is my handshake.
Yes.
Yeah.
So good for you.
Yeah.
That's a big field.
It is.
Like, it's huge.
It is. It's overwhelming, and it's what's going to be, for me, it's the next education piece. Like, what's going to give me what I need to learn. But it's exciting, and I do believe that is, this whole journey has been to find that life's purpose, and it is within connecting, this bridge between the masculine and the feminine, and connecting it together and making a whole self, wholeness within ourselves, and harmonizing that masculine and feminine. So often it's just at odds with each other. We're fighting it.
We have the more that we talk, the more that I realize that, let's imagine that universal intelligence is involved in everything. God, whatever we want to call that. I'm thinking about all the resources I have that I should be able to share with you, and which may be more about why you're here this morning than
I think so.
than this interview.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Although I hope that there's women who hear this today and say, "Wow, I want to explore that."
Yes.
And can they get in touch with you now?
Absolutely. I run a women's only account called Psychedelic Gypsy Fitness. And also you can check out my website of the same name. And that's kind of where it's all happening. And you can privately message me and we can chat about whatever. I'm very open. And this is definitely my life's work.
So the women's only accounts on Facebook?
Sorry, Instagram.
Oh, Instagram, okay.
Yeah, but then I have a website called Psychedelic Gypsy Fitness. You can go check that out. I have a lot of blog posts and content on there. And I also run fitness, spiritual adventure retreats. And my next one is going to be in November in Hawaii, Big Island, at a conscious sensuality eco lodge.
Nice.
So yeah.
For couples.
For women only. We got some shit to heal. So, and I find that group settings are super powerful to do that, as you know, with your nightly meditations or Monday meditations. Yeah. So.
And my men's work, I got involved in men's work in June of '99.
Damn.
I know. And I went and did a men's weekend in Oakland, California. It was like this men's initiation weekend, which was, knock your socks off. It was an Everest climb. And so I got involved with the men's work then. And I've been, involved ever since. I've led our local group a couple of times here. We usually have 50 or 60 men that meet once a week. I think now we're probably about 80 or 90 men that meet in different groups. And it's amazing what happens. Often men show up. Sometimes they come because they're going through a divorce. It comes that way. Sometimes there's something going on, and they're angry, and we let them be in that for a bit, and then we get back to let's own what's happening in your life. So if things have gone sideways in your relationship, what was your part? Where were you involved in that, and were you actually showing up?
Yes.
Were you paying attention? Were you showing her different ways that you love her? Were you actually being there in the bedroom? So there's not a lot of places for men to go to get that information. Yeah. I've been doing that for 20 years.
I didn't know that. That's so rad. Yeah. And I think, I mean, obviously, there are a lot more outlets for women, but women still need to, take that ownership. And it's like, what part did you play? And instead of the victim blame game.
Because Because men show up with that too,
Absolutely.
Bitch.
Yeah. Don't ever get married, like that old story. But it's like, that's my whole thing. It's like, let's rewrite the narrative.
Yeah.
The narrative that we have right now and what we hear all the time, to me, isn't satisfactory. No. And
it's not working.
It's not working. And I accept it, yes. Mm-hmm. But I do believe that when we take ownership of our own shit, mm-hmm. then we can, consciously come into a relationship mm-hmm. and do it. Mm-hmm. Show up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, I think that meditation is a big part of that. Like, if I learn something, like a way of being, or it just doesn't integrate it. It's
yes.
I have to kind of sit with it, and when I meditate on a daily basis, I think that if we all did, oh my God, it would be, the planet would be such a different place. Mm-hmm. Not that there's anything wrong with it now, but it would be just such a different place. It
yes.
would be, and because we'd lift the vibration. But so a practice is a part of. It's just like if you're if you're training to be in a competition for fitness, you're going to go do a Tough Mudder. It's a daily training, right? To get ready.
Absolutely. For that. And it was very regimented. But that's what I also think this whole journey, like especially the athlete, is that discipline and regimentation can be applied to the meditation. And I wish I had known about that earlier, but obviously not.
Are you meditating?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I like to spice it up too with adding in some of my sexuality elements and do breath work with that, crystals mm-hmm. and just having my own time, like you said, every day to mm-hmm. do, honor your body, your soul.
Even 10 minutes.
Yeah.
To sit.
Yes.
To just do nothing.
Yeah.
And except go inside
mm-hmm.
and find that space, and even to be comfortable with the idea that our mind is sometimes crazy.
Yeah.
I can't trust it all the time because it's making decisions based on the conditioning from my mom, from my dad, from where I grew up in the Maritimes. The local story is still part of my programming.
Oh, so it never goes away? Damn it. Because I'm tired of my brain stories.
I know. Well, we can rewrite.
Yeah.
We can rewrite. But I think that as we become closer to that essence, that God space, that thing that we can't really describe, the now, mm-hmm. Eckhart Tolle talks about, be here now. And as we get closer to that space on a regular basis, we start to carry it with us all the time. And then if we become more consciously connected when we're out in the day, because we're doing our meditation in the morning at night, mm-hmm. and we're connecting, and then it's like, and then we start to get intuitive thoughts and ideas mm-hmm. that are not from our conditioning, but are from that empty space, from where all the knowledge is, where all the power is.
Yeah, the unmanifested.
Yes, it's all David Hawkins had his first book. He was called Power versus Force, and force is often what ego does. Tries to make things happen. Fuck, I'm gonna make this happen. I'm gonna will this into. And power comes from the moment, and it's way actually more creative mm-hmm. than force.
Yes. And
force
effective.
Force is kind of the masculine.
Yeah.
And this power is more from the feminine.
Yeah, the effortless effort.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I completely I recognize that in myself, is that when I'm trying to force things, my whole day gets fucked up. And then now I can be like, okay. Yeah. That's why my keys are locked in my car, because I was forcing things. I'm trying to rush around. I'm trying to be something that isn't right now.
Yeah.
And so it's cool to start to recognize that. And now I know when I'm starting to get into that frantic, I have to do to be a value mode, or mm-hmm. I'm not enough mode, mm-hmm. I need to sit on this meditation mm-hmm. chair mm-hmm. and just be, mm-hmm. even if it is for 10 minutes, mm-hmm. slowing down. Mm-hmm. That's what this whole thing has taught me. Mm-hmm. There's no need to rush about.
Can I tell you a little story?
Yeah.
So I had this spiritual teacher years ago. His name was Paul, and I spent a lot of time with Paul, and he had been many, many years with Osho. And at one time, I went to his group in Mexico, and I dove in the swimming pool and hit my face on the bottom.
Oh no.
But things were not going well in my life. There was a lot of stuff upside down. I was going through a divorce. Financially was a mess, and there was just so much that wasn't happening, and I was in a lot of fear. And Paul said, "You're spiritually bankrupt. Your spiritual account is empty. You need to, kind of make more deposits in your spiritual account." It was a nice analogy for me. I recognized that like I was doing, locking my keys in the car every fucking day,
Yeah.
and everything was upside down, and everything was a mess, and because I was willing, I wasn't willing. I was trying to will everything, and which is different than being willing.
Well, from what I've learned, there's willfulness.
Yes.
And then there's willingness.
Yes.
And willfulness usually just fucks everything up.
Totally.
Yeah.
And there, I remember that so well. Hey, that's all right. We'll be with you in a bit.
Okay.
All right. Good to see you. He's an amazing character. He is. So spiritually bankrupt, and I see that when I take my time every morning to fill up my account, to make another deposit, if you will, and then it doesn't seem to matter what's going on around me,
Right.
My transition business-wise and all of that it's not a big deal. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, because I feel full with that presence.
Yes. And then that's surrendering and letting go and trusting the universe that I'm fearful too because I'm running two businesses and shit, like the financials are scary and I just don't know how it's all going to work out. But then every time I do step back and take that time, I'm approaching the world in a whole new way.
Well, yeah, if you feel like you're on purpose and you're putting love into it, often the how is not it's not that important. The how will appear.
Yes.
As long as we're available to say yes.
Yes.
When the how shows up. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I have been not so available, because the how would show up and I'd be like, "Are you sure?"
Yeah. Yeah. Really?
That way?
Yeah.
To go stand on the street corner? All right.
Yeah, and accepting that, right? Yeah. That is the way. Like when sometimes, again, like my father would pop into my head. He's like, "You're selling yoni eggs online?" I'm like, and I'm just like, "Yep, that's what I'm doing." And it's kind of sometimes a hard pill to swallow, but that is fully accepting who I am.
Yes.
Yeah.
So. I never thought. Yeah, your dad might wonder about that.
Yeah, I'm gonna show him some yoni eggs.
He hasn't seen them?
No.
Does he even know what a yoni is?
No. Yeah. My mom, I talked to my mom about it. She's like, "Yoni egg? What are those?" Like, don't worry, I'll show them to you.
California, Mom.
Yeah, exactly. So it's pretty funny.
We're bringing California to Canada.
That's right. Yeah, the good vibes.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You've lived in the Bay Area?
I lived in San Diego.
Did you?
For a while, yeah.
Yeah.
It was awesome. You can really,
south.
Yeah. You can really let your freak flag fly there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should come to Ubud.
Yeah, I've been.
Have you?
Yeah, but I wasn't in that stage of my life where I was really letting myself be freaky.
I think you'd like it more now.
Yeah, I think so too.
We call it Balifornia.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Ubud's kind of where I've been hanging out the last, say, 12 years.
Oh, cool.
A couple of times a year.
Yeah.
And some amazing people. I remember one time I took a girlfriend and she said, "These people are all weird." I said, "Yeah, aren't they great?"
Yes. The weirdos.
The weirdos.
Amazing. The fringe folk.
Yes.
It's so good. That's where I'm at home for sure.
Yeah. But the fringe is becoming mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
With meditation, with, around consciousness, and you go to the bookstore and it's just, it's all there now.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, that's something I wanted to talk about though, because there is so much information. There is so much, and now it's really becoming like, how are we going to disseminate that information to what we need? And not only that, you could read all the spiritual books in the world, but really you have to feel it, and you have to be able to like just sit under that tree and wait, right? So that's kind of something that I struggle with. Is there's I have a stack of books this high on my bedside table that I'm kind of reading and looking at, and there's so much out there, but I always have to remember to come back to stillness, to let it all integrate, and also to know that we have all the answers inside. It's all there, right? And so there's just these, you got to pick and choose the breadcrumbs that you're going to eat along the way.
Sometimes the books just help us with the language.
Yes, true, very true,
because it's without the language, it's hard to express what it is that's happening. Who are some of your favorite authors?
So the book that really was like the crux of everything for me was called Pussy by Mama Gina, and she has a school called the School of Womanly Arts in New York. I've always wanted to go to, but that was everything.
Her interviewed.
Oh, have you? Yeah. She's incredible.
Yeah. On YouTube, somebody interviewed. I don't know who it was.
She's the Radiance Queen.
Wouldn't have been Joe Rogan.
No, definitely not. But yeah, she's a badass, and that really got me on the path. And then this book that I'm reading now is called The Way of the Mysterial Woman.
Yes.
By Suzanne Anderson, and it's all about addressing our shadow selves in a very Jungian way, and then upgrading how we like live, love, and lead. And so it is this new way of feminine leadership, which doesn't mean that I have to be and act like a traditional like man, in the world. So it's kind of cool, right? Success looks different for everyone.
You were saying you like Alan Watts?
Yes, love Alan Watts. I haven't read any of his books. I really just listen to his. I love to listen to him talk.
He's got a great voice.
Yeah,
He had a great voice.
Yeah, had a great voice. Ram Dass, Be Here Now.
Yes.
That's like such a trippy book that I love. And
he has lots of YouTube too. I mean, there's so much on the YouTube.
Yeah, there's so much, right? There's so much. But yes, I think just whatever speaks to you, go for it. And
I'm going to show you my books.
Yes, show me your book.
I have a stack of books. I mean, I've been on this spiritual path, if you will, for 40 years.
Wow.
Yeah, 40 years.
You've seen some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, consciously looking for 40 years. But when I think back even before that, I had experiences, I was looking for spirituality in acid.
Yes.
In my teens,
absolutely.
And in alcohol, because I was searching for something that was different than what I was experiencing, but it's funny that all the searching for something that was different than I was experiencing brought me back to really being here now with whatever's happening.
Yes.
And recognizing that whatever's happening right now is perfect.
Yeah.
And the dissatisfaction I had was my ego saying something should be different. There should be more, or should be, even with spirituality, a judgment.
Yes.
I should be more awakened.
Yeah, I know. Totally get caught
Fucking
up.
crazy mind.
I know.
So here we are, all in the same experience, and I'm really happy that the call has come to you to be more awake and to give it away.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there's you can help a lot of women, and who then help their children, who help I think women who have children teaching their kids to meditate.
Yeah.
Is what a great thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Teaching their husbands to meditate, and women are in such a position of power, really, to be able to carry that message of love and presence.
Yes.
And
and so we have to use that power very wisely.
Yeah.
And with a ton of love and compassion, because we really are like the window to a man's soul, ultimately.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else that you'd like to share that you're thinking about that we might
No.
have missed?
No, but
No.
this is really cool to finally connect and
Yes.
yeah.
It seemed so like it took me a while to get you here.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I just kept saying, okay, this is meant to happen.
Yeah.
It really felt. I would check in. It's like this really feels like that we're supposed to do this, and so I'm glad that I kind of persisted and that you came.
Yeah.
And we had this. And,
Yes.
bring your sister. I want to meet your sister.
Yeah.
Again.
She's really cool.
What's her name?
Alexandra.
Alexandra.
Yeah.
You guys came to a kirtan.
Yeah.
And I've got actually some chanting. I want to introduce you to some other chanting stuff.
Oh, okay, cool.
Chanting's
Yeah.
really
No,
cool.
chanting, I can't believe how powerful it is. I've been putting on Om Mani Padme Hum, like on Spotify a lot. Oh, yeah.
That's a Buddhist prayer. Right? It's
Yeah.
like the whole thing. It's a beautiful Buddhist mantra. Om Mani Padme Hum. I've said it a million times.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I'll introduce you some more. Thanks.
Yes.
Love you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, you guys,
Yeah.
for dropping in. And, if you have questions for Emily, did you know my daughter's name's Emily?
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, my daughter's Emily. If you have questions for Emily, leave them. Like, she'll check back on this, this post, and won't you?
Absolutely.
And answer them. And if you want to connect with Emily, the psychedelic
Gypsy
gypsy
Fitness.
and must be two sites. One's for women only, or
The Instagram account is
Okay.
women's only. The website's for everybody.
Okay.
But I do largely cater to women because that is what I know
yes,
and am passionate about.
yes, and so get in touch with Emily, and I think there's a book coming. I just made that up.
Oh, yeah. No, probably.
Probably. and
Somewhere down the line.
could happen faster.
Yeah.
Good. So we love you, and follow us on YouTube as well. We have a channel on YouTube. Do you have a YouTube channel? Yes. And under Emily Abbott.
Psychedelic Gypsy Fitness.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, so hopefully this ends up there too.
Yeah.
And love you guys, and we're off. I think we're off. Bye.